This is Larry Pollock coming to you from Underground Performance Gym, Hardcore Gym in Ventura, California. Today we're going to talk about peptide hormones, specifically growth hormone and insulin, and how they're used in performance enhancing.
In a day of judgment for the ruler to the slave. Holy land, the blood is rising from the river to the sea. Holy land, the cross is burning on the hill.
I want to do my little disclaimer. This is not medical advice. If you are embarking on a medical program or any type of program to enhance your physiology, you should consult your medical physician. So now we'll get into the real stuff. So, growth hormone, I'm going to give you a bit of background on this. I started, the first time I used growth hormone myself was in the early 90s. I don't even remember what kind it was. I remember getting it. And the first thing I noticed when I took it was when I went to the gym and trained, the pump was insane. Immediately I could feel the effect. It was just like I all of a sudden just had an insane pump, just blew up. And at the time I really didn't understand what that was all about. But I'm going to get into basically how it's used, the different types of growth hormones out there, different types of insulin, how they're used synergetically, and so forth. So let's get into the basics first of all. People that are dwarfs, they don't produce enough growth hormone. They're used clinically to help them to grow to their actual natural height. There's also something called giantism, where some people overproduce growth hormone and they grow extremely large, like Andre the Giant. This is the other end of the spectrum. On normal people that are actually fully grown and your growth plates are fully healed and attached, you're not going to get any height growth out of it. However, you can still get protein synthesis, and where the proteins actually, the muscle cells split, and you get microplasia, so that they're actually develop more cells from it. It also will lead to bone growth in the jaw, hands, feet primarily, thickening of the bones overall. It's used in anti-aging medicine for, again, bone density and just healing in general. But we're going to talk more in bodybuilding purposes. So, first of all, let's talk about how growth hormone is used and when it should be administered, and how it works with anabolics and synergistically with insulin as well. Growth hormone on its own will not have much of an anabolic effect. In other words, if you were just work out and took growth hormone, you'd get some better digestion, better sleep, but you're not going to see a tremendous anabolic effect. However, when it's combined with testosterone and other androgens or anabolic steroids and insulin, there's a synergistic effect that all works together that can produce quite a dramatic effect. And really, I think it came popular in the 90s. In the 80s, there was a Crest-Hormone, which was cadaver growth hormone. That was the first one they came out with. And they found it led to some diseases, or actually brain disease. Lyle Ozato claimed to have died from that, but I don't think it was really from that. It was from something else. But anyways, then they developed the synthetic growth hormone. And in the 90s, that's when it really came on the scene. And you'll notice, if you look at the physiques from the 90s, actually from the 80s to the 90s, there was a dramatic increase in overall size. And that was attributed mainly to the growth hormone. And Dorian Yates, I think he was one of the first people that really showcased this increase in size where bodybuilders went from, Mr. Olympia went from 240, 250 to 270, 280 on stage. So this is a dramatic increase in muscle mass. So back to, let's talk about how it works. First of all, growth hormone allows the uptake of certain amino acids. Insulin allows the uptake of different amino acids. When combined together, it'll have a synergistic effect and it'll uptake all the amino acids and therefore develop a bigger growth outcome. Now, let's say you take growth hormone without insulin. You'll get the fat burning effect. You'll get some muscle gain, but you won't get the dramatic effect as you will when combining with insulin. They have to work synergistically together. So, how much growth hormone to take? That's a debate. So, some pro bodybuilders, and this is just rumor, I can't say for sure this is true, have been rumored to take as much as 20 units of growth hormone a day. My personal experience is that anything more than 3 or 4 units is probably a waste because your body can only use so much growth hormone at a period of time. And what happens is once your growth hormone reaches a certain level, your body produces something called somatostatin, which is when something gets out of balance, your body wants to bring it back into balance. So it produces somatostatin to bring it back down. So if you take more than 3 or 4 units a day, your body's going to produce a bunch of somatostatin to offset that growth hormone because it doesn't want the growth hormone too high. So basically, like you said, taking more than 3 or 4 units a day is probably a waste. Your body probably not going to do much with it. And it actually may go backwards even. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So the way I use it is I break it up and I take 2 units pre-workout and 1.5 units in night. Now I actually started off using only 1.5 units pre-workout and 1 unit at night. Now I'm up to 2 units pre-workout and 1 unit at night. And I combine that with insulin. Now, insulin allows the uptake of carbohydrates, proteins, and other amino acids. So what I do is pre-workout, I'll use a Humalog, which is a fast-acting insulin, and I'll use 5 units with the 2 units of growth hormone, and I'll take that immediately before training. And then it's important when you do this that you obviously have food in your stomach. So I eat a pretty good sized meal, probably 30, 40 minutes before training. And then I also drink an intra-workout shake, which consists, or not a shake, but a drink, consists of cyclic branched dextrins, which is a type of carbohydrate that is absorbed quickly through the intestines, so it doesn't require very much digestion, gets right into the bloodstream, and essential amino acids. And I also put in a little bit of collagen peptides. So I sip this throughout my training. And doing this prior to training, you'll find that even though you're taking the 5 units, let me back up. Some people are more insulin sensitive than others. So I've found 5 units is a sweet spot for me. You might want to start with 1 or 2 if you're going to do this, because you could be very insulin sensitive and you could easily go hypo, even from just taking 1 or 2 units and then training after that. Especially if you're using any type of pre-workout that's a high stimulant. Now, I don't use any high stimulant pre-workouts. I use a pre-workout that is a focused pre-workout, but it only has 175 milligrams of caffeine. Too much stimulants, and you might very well go hypo on that. But the growth hormone will raise your blood sugar, and the insulin will actually help lower the blood sugar. So you'll actually find you have quite a bit of energy going into that workout because your blood sugar will go up. And then it's important to sip that intra-workout, because what will happen is when you're sipping that intra-workout through the workout, it'll keep sustained energy throughout the entire workout. Now, my workouts tend to be quite long, usually two hours plus. So I'm sipping that. I'm not drinking it, but sipping it through the workout. So I'm constantly loading. And what'll happen is, as you're training, you'll find that you sip on this drink, and your body's just sucking this up immediately right into your muscles. Then post workout, I'll finish that off. I'll take 15 units of Humalog, followed by a high protein, high carb, low fat meal. Usually rice and chicken for me, or rice and gluten free pasta and very lean ground beef, something like that. And I find that doing this, you can literally see your muscles just absorb that food. Like, the digestion is unreal, especially after I train legs. I will train legs, and after I've taken that 15 units of insulin post workout and I eat, my legs just swell up. It absorbs everything. So the next time I use it is pre-bed, late at night. Now, I used to do it in the middle of the night on a totally empty stomach because, again, carbohydrates can interfere with the growth hormone as far as fat burning effects. But now what I do is, what happened was after doing it for a long period of time, my A1C, it's important to get blood work, by the way. So you want to get your blood work checked. And also, I was monitoring my blood sugar regularly. My A1C was getting a bit high. And that's because the growth hormone raises your blood sugar. And by the way, this can happen even on low doses over a long period of time. Now, keep in mind, I've been doing this on and off for probably, 20 years. And it was only a couple years ago my A1C started getting a little bit high. So I use a long-acting insulin. I actually use something called Basaglar, which is basically Lantus. And I use that at night. And I'll use 30 units. And that keeps my A1C within normal range, which is important because you can become pre-diabetic using growth hormone if you don't keep your blood sugar under control. And your A1C is what you want to check, because you can test your blood sugar all day long and it's going to go up and down throughout the day. But if your fasting blood sugar is over 100 in the morning, that's a good indication. You should get your blood work done and check your A1C and make sure that's within normal range. Now, a friend of mine has been taking growth hormone for a long time. Recently had her A1C checked and is still in normal range. So you may not have this happen, but it could happen. So you want to keep an eye on that. So anyways, that's the protocol I've been using. Now let's talk about, first of all, how many days do I use it? So what I use it only on training days. I train 4 days a week, and I use it only on training days. So I train, and they're mostly non-consecutive days. I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So 3 days a week I'm off. I'm not taking it. And the reason I'm doing this is, again, what I mentioned is your body will produce somatostatin to offset the growth hormone. And also, if you run it on non-training days, your blood sugar will get higher, which means more insulin to keep it under control. It's better to keep not consistently. And Dorian Yates supposedly did this, and it worked for him as well. And I started doing this a long time ago. Actually, I don't remember where I originally heard about it, but I tried it, and I found using it only 3 or 4 days a week is more effective. Now, some people do 5 days on, 2 days off. I prefer to do it around my training times because, like I said, it works great taking it right before training. And then at night on training days, it really helps recovery. It's amazing. So I'll take it at night, right before bed, and you get into deepest sleep, and the recovery is so much better. So I want that on my training days, not on my non-training days, especially after a really heavy back workout, heavy leg workout, whatever I'm doing. Okay. There was a study that just came out, and if we can put that up, and this is in I can't even read that, but this was a medical study. You can read it yourself. It was just published recently, and I want to credit the Gorilla Chemist for bringing this to my attention. But it's on growth hormone therapy post, and they're talking about after this is used in dwarfism again, and this is after they discontinue the therapy, it continued to work for up to 2 years as far as increasing growth, better on the non-consecutive days versus taking it every day. So they got better results out of it using clinical trials, using growth hormone only non-consecutive days versus every single day in this clinical study. And again, I found this is true for in bodybuilding purposes as well. So let's talk about the different types of insulins, first of all. I mentioned Lantus, I mentioned Humalog. Humalog is a fast-acting insulin. Its onset is almost immediately, and it peaks within 30 minutes, and it works for about 2 hours. This is perfect for pre-workout or post-workout because you can really control, the food intake and what you're intaking with the insulin right then. Then you have longer acting insulins. Now, first of all, there's a regular Humulin R or Humulin N that you can get, at CVS. And that's like a 3 or 4 hour insulin. And I actually used to use this years back. But what I found with these types of insulins, they're a little bit harder to control because the peaks, you never know when it's going to come. And it's a lot easier to go hypoglycemic on that. In other words, let's say you take however many units of it, 20 units of a Humulin R, and you eat, but then you don't eat. And that stuff's still working in your system for 3 or 4 hours. Well, 3 or 4 hours later, you might go hypo. So that's not a good thing. Now, then you have the longer acting insulins, which is like Lantus or vascular insulin. And these are considered 24-hour insulins, but they're really 12 hours to 18-hour insulins. And the release of this insulin is so slow throughout the time that it's working that it's very hard to go hypo on it. So even though I'm taking 30 units, I'm probably only getting, a few units per hour because it's spread out over, a 12 to 18 hour period of time. And what this does is it keeps my blood sugar within normal range, which keeps my A1C within normal range. So I'm really doing this for blood sugar control. And now some people use Lantus for putting on mass, and it will work because obviously you're going to absorb your food and digest your food more. However, I will tell you this, contrary to popular belief, I have found that it does add a little bit of adipose tissue, body fat, when you're taking the longer acting insulin. Now, I'm not going to say it's a lot. I mean, I stay fairly lean all year long. My skin has gotten thicker over the last couple years, just a little bit since I've used the Lantus or the vascular insulin. Now, different types of growth hormone. There's many different brands. There's Humatrope, there's Serostem, there's Gentropins. These are the name brands, pharmaceutical brands. And then there's, of course, the Chinese generics. Originally, back in the day, I don't remember what I got back in the 90s. Whatever it was, it worked. So long ago, I can't even remember what brand it was. But I do know that in early 2000s, I was getting Serostem kits, lots of them. And I can guarantee you they were 100% real. What I found with Serostem kits is they seem to work pretty good for fat burning effect, but I didn't notice the pumps or the mass gaining effect that I did when I took Gentropins, which were the Chinese brand. Now, they're both all 191 amino acids, so they technically should be the same, and they should do the same thing, but for whatever reason, the Chinese are just a little bit different as far as nutrient uptake. They seem to be just a bit stronger. The first Chinese I took were Gentropins, and I know they were legit Gentropins. And they worked amazingly. much better, in my opinion, than the Serostim. But some people prefer Serostim because the Gentropins or the Chinese brands will tend to make you hold a bit of water retention. Now, I tend not to hold much water anyways, so it's not any water that I do hold is a good thing because it just kind of helps my joints feel better. I have noticed that with the Chinese brands, my hands and feet do get a little bit swollen. Like my shoes actually feel tight on them, especially after training legs. And my foot size has not gotten longer, but my foot has actually gotten wider. Now, I'm not sure if that's just from swelling, but I noticed recently when I went to buy a new pair of shoes, I had to get a shoe size that was 2 sizes bigger than what I normally get, just because my feet were so wide, they wouldn't fit into the regular size shoe without it being super tight on me. So I just got a bigger shoe. And also with a grip, I've noticed like my hands have gotten thicker when using them. Now, there's been some controversy about generics versus the name brand. The main controversy is, whether it's actually real or it's counterfeit, if it works or not. So here's what I'm going to tell you about that. I have gotten Chinese generics that were probably bunk and didn't do anything, and I didn't notice anything from them. But I've also gotten Chinese generics that work just as well as the Gentropins, and I've proven this by getting what's called a serum growth hormone test. What that is you actually take 10 units of growth hormone in one shot, and an hour later go get your blood drawn. And if your serum growth hormone is not through the roof, you know that your growth hormone is bunk. But if it is through the roof, that's good growth hormone. Plus, you can feel it as well. You can feel when it's working. And I can tell you that the Chinese generics that I got, they were very comparable, if not the same as the Gentropins. So there are real legitimate Chinese generics. Now, as far as the name brands go, I will also tell you, there's been counterfeit Serostims, counterfeit Gentropins, counterfeit every Humatrope. I've seen counterfeits in everyone. So you really got to know your source and obviously get your stuff tested. I think the best way to get it tested is, like I said, get a blood draw after taking some growth hormone. And if your serum growth hormones are high, then it's probably legit. Now, some people have their IGF-1 tested as a test to see if your growth hormone is legit. I don't think that's necessarily the best, most accurate, because your IGF-1 can also be elevated from other things, from oral steroids, even from weight training. There's a lot of things that can make your IGF-1 go up and down at particular times. But serum growth hormone, well, that's only going to go up if you take actual real growth hormone. So now, as far as eating, growth hormone and insulin, the main thing that it really does, in my opinion, is it allows you to consume and process more calories and nutrients. So you're going to have to eat a lot more food on this. This can lead to digestive problems. So you're going to have to be really careful, how you do this, because you can really mess up your digestion. I know I have Crohn's, and I know a lot of bodybuilders have messed up their digestion. Currently, my Crohn's in remission. Some things that I found really have helped me with my Crohn's and just, balancing all this out. I take probiotics twice a day. I also take digestive enzymes twice a day, and sometimes more with meals if I need it, but usually twice a day, morning and night. And this really helps me process all this food that I have to take in, because you're going to be super hungry. One thing it does increase your appetite. So you need to, if you're going to shovel down that much food down your throat, you need to be able to digest all that food. So the probiotics and digestive enzymes really help that. I also eat fresh pineapple almost with every protein meal, and this really seems to help me digest food better. and digest all the protein, because my protein intake is upwards of 300 plus grams a day, which is a lot of protein. And that's over like 5 meals, but still, it's still a lot of protein. Now, and obviously now, the bigger you are, the more food you can digest, the more food that you need to eat. This will all change. Now, another thing is, all these factors can change over time. Like I can tell you, when I was younger, I could eat massive amounts of food without even taking insulin or growth hormone, and I somehow was able to digest all that. As I've gotten older, it became more and more difficult. So I found that, again, using these things helped me digest my food better. And the insulin and growth hormone actually helps heal my Crohn's. This sounds weird, but it's the truth. I know it for sure. When you take growth hormone before sleep, you go into such a deep REM sleep. The healing is unbelievable. And I can tell you, I wake up in the morning and even like I can trash my legs and take that at night, and the healing that I get just in the first night is amazing compared to as if I didn't do it. So I think we've covered a good amount of information. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions. I'll be willing to answer any questions on the Q&A over this video. So feel free to put your questions in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep bringing you more information. And again, this is Larry Pollock talking about growth hormone, insulin, and bodybuilding, and again, monitoring your health to keep all this functioning, because we want to be able to do this for a long time. Underground Performance Gym, the hardcore training gym, Ventura County. Don't forget to check out our website, www.undergroundperformancegym.com. You can sign up for a 7-day pass and come out and check in the gym. We have the best equipped gym in all of Ventura County.